Hello and welcome to Passive Reconnaissance Part 4, the fourth video of our Passive Reconnaissance series and the ninth video as part of our Red Team Fundamentals mini-series. In this video, we will be examining a specific reconnaissance technique that involves predominantly using Google and its search engine capabilities to enumerate different content and files of a particular organization. More specifically, we will explore how we can use Google's search engine to uncover publicly exposed information that may have been unintentionally revealed, exposing sensitive information about the target organization. That rhymes a little bit there. As per usual, all the techniques that we teach in this video and all of our other videos for that matter are purely for educational purposes. We take no responsibility for how you choose to use the knowledge acquired. My name is Irvin Asmultenis, and if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave a like as it helps us grow and flourish. Additionally, feel free to join our Discord server, for which you can find the link down in the description below, to essentially keep up to date with our latest content, chat, contribute, or simply hang out with us. Now, you may be asking what even is Google Dorking and why are we even making a video on it? So Google Dorking, or otherwise known as Google hacking, is a specialized search technique that utilizes Google's search engine to find precise information. Now, it is very similar to regular Google searching. However, Google Dorking fundamentally operates on specialized search operators to perform searching rather than using the standard query-based approach. Now, I know this can sound a little bit confusing, but rest assured that this will make more sense as we actually get to use these operators. So, by using Google Dorking techniques, we can uncover sensitive information such as configuration files, documents, maybe even financial spreadsheets, specific content embedded within a website, such as credentials in plain text, information about service versions and their configurations, and also specific keywords of the actual URL of the target and even its web pages. Now, we said that Google Dorking works based on its search operators. In the table that you are seeing, I've highlighted 6 of the most commonly used search operators. However, you can find more in the link provided above the table, which I'll also leave in the description below. In the first row, we have double quotation marks, which essentially searches for the exact results, case insensitive by the way, that are within the web pages. So as shown in the example column, searching for something like password would only return the results for pages containing the word password. In the second column, we have the file type operator, which accepts a specific file extension and only returns the results that match the file extension. So these file extensions can be anything such as PDF, CSV, conf for configuration files, and as you can see in the example column, something like file type CSV would only return the results for CSV based documents. In the third row, we have the inurl operator, which essentially searches for specific words in the URL. Now, this specific word can be anywhere within the URL, including the domain, the path, or the query string. So, in the case as shown in the example column, only URLs that contain the word login would be returned. In the fourth row, we have the in-text operator, which searches for specific text in the actual content of a web page. So again, as shown in the example column, something like in-text password would only return results for the pages that contain password in their content. In the fifth column, we have the intitle operator, which is similar to in-text but works specifically for the titles of a web page. And last but not least, we have the site operator, which searches for all results that match a specific site. Now, one of the most important concepts to remember with these search operators is that they can be chained together. And as we'll later see, this will allow us to better filter our results according to the information we are seeking. So, with a fundamental understanding of Google Dorking and its search operators, let's take a look at how they can be used practically. Now then, to begin Google Dorking, or Google hacking as it is otherwise known as, we are obviously going to need Google as our search engine, and then any sort of search operator that we provide will be provided through its input box. Now, if you recall, we said that there are numerous different operators for which Google provides, so we won't be covering all of them in this video. Instead, we'll be covering those ones that we discussed in the slides earlier. So if you remember, one of the first queries that we discussed was the double quotation marks, and anything that goes within the double quotation marks, be it a word or maybe a phrase, Google will only return those results that match it. So for instance, if we were to use something like password here, you see that upon submitting the query, we get multiple different results where password appears in the title of the result and also within its body. Now, if we take a look at some of these results here, you'll notice that, these results are not really or may not really be relevant towards our assessment. In such cases, you'll remember that, we said that multiple different operators can be combined together. And to combine an operator, we simply separate another operator with a space. So for instance, if you recall, one of the other operators was the file type operator. And what the file type operator does is essentially return those results that match the file extension for which the results provide. So to better illustrate this, let's say we were to search for any log files that match the phrase or word, password. You'll see that our logs are a bit more concise now in terms of that, we're getting log files that contain the word password. Now, if we were to take a look at one of these files, I examined this first result here earlier so that I'm not exposing any sensitive information. And, it appears to be some sort of conversation that just has the word password in it. So if we use Control F, we'll be able to filter down on a specific word. Let's just select highlight all. And you'll see here that, it appears to be some sort of conversation discussing what appears to be some sort of password misconfiguration. Nevertheless, we were able to filter down even further, but still we're kind of lacking that precision in terms of the organization for which we might be assessing. Now, at this stage, you might be wondering, well, how do we actually filter down the results to a specific organization? And if you recall, the way we do this is through the cite operator. Essentially, what the cite operator will do will only return those results for which match the specific domain name we give it. So for instance, if we were to use something like cisco.com, click enter here, you'll see that, our results are now filtered down to all of the domains that, match the parent domain cisco.com. So if we take a look here, you'll see that we get projectworkspace.cisco.com, developer.cisco.com, video.cisco.com, and all of these results will, essentially be related to cisco.com. Now, one useful way for which we can combine the cite operator is, again, with the file type operator to essentially search for any exposed files or documents for which the organization might unwillingly be presenting out to the internet. So for instance, earlier we searched the log file extension, and I had a look here again at one of these return results here. It appears to be some sort of certificate log file here, but by filtering down on the specific file types that are returned, we can search for stuff like exposed PDFs, maybe even exposed spreadsheets, and another good one is docx, which are Microsoft document files. So here's a good one, Jabber client logging issues. Let's take a look at this file here. I'm quite intrigued. I've not opened it, but if this does not make the portion of the video, you'll know that we've not opened this. But it appears to be some sort of architecture that instruments how Jabber client uses to connect to services. So I don't think we'll find any sensitive information here, but nevertheless, it's still useful to explore this. So actually, let's open up our terminal here, go into our downloads, and if we use exiftool to inspect the Jabber client login issues, you'll see here that we get a list of who the creator is. So Armared, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Also, you can see the application for which this file was compiled on, and the list goes on, so you can really start inspecting some useful information purely just by looking at the metadata. Now, another useful one to search for exposed files is through the intitle operator. And if you remember, what the intitle operator specifies is essentially to only return those results for which match the given word or phrase within the title of the result. Now, one useful one to use is the index of phrase, and essentially what this will return is exposed directories of the target. Now, when a specific domain does not contain an index page, typically, if it is misconfigured, it might present the contents of that directory for viewing. Now, to better illustrate this, if we actually list here, you see we get one results of cisco-trex.com, cisco-trex.com, but we get a list of exposed files for which we wouldn't even have to perform directory brute forcing, right? Which we'll discuss in the active reconnaissance stage. Again, I had a look through a.text. It does not appear to be exposing any information, just one number. But you can have a look through these types of directories and see if you can find anything interesting. Now, one of the last operators that we will be discussing is the inurl operator. And what this will do is essentially return all of the results which match the specific word or phrase that we give it within the URL segment of the website, or the result that is. Now, one useful way you can use this is with the login prompt, and essentially what this will do is it will only return those results for which match the word login within its URL. And this is really useful for phishing, because then we can copy those login portals to essentially use them for subsequent phishing attacks. So for instance, if we were to search for the results, I viewed this one earlier, Cisco Spaces. If we click on this, you'll see that, we get a login portal for a specific product of Cisco. And in this case, what we could do is essentially copy this login portal. There are several tools that can do that for you. We'll discuss it in the phishing section of the videos that we're producing. But essentially, we can copy this, send it as part of an email, and potentially even harvest the credentials of a victim. So have a play around with Google Dorking and all of the search queries that it provides. Again, I'll leave a link to a resource for which you can find more operators down in the description below. But, time is money. And what we want to do is perform these Google Dorking queries faster. Now, DorkSearch takes it up a level from the traditional or conventional Dorking queries that we built using Google, and it does so by providing numerous different pre-built queries and a custom and interactive builder. So essentially, DorkSearch provides us with an interactive way to perform Google Dorking. So if we take a look at some of its features, one of the first ones here is Prebuilt, and essentially there are numerous different categories that contain various different Dorking queries. So essentially these categories define specific queries that are relevant to it. So for instance, we've got files containing juicy info. If we select this, we'll see a table that outlines the specific query that is used, and then a description for it. So in this case, files containing juicy info will outline numerous different files for which we can search for that can contain stuff like email addresses, passwords, API keys, and anything that could potentially be used for nefarious purposes. So to actually illustrate its power by using pre-built queries, we will select one of these to demonstrate. Now, if we take a look at this query by default, what it does is essentially uses the site operator to search for government-based websites, as indicated by gov, because typically gov containing websites will be owned by governments. Then it's got the intitle of index of, and if you remember, basically what index of specifies is for Google to return only those results for which contain exposed directories and hence files. And then lastly, CSV basically outlines for Google Dorking to only return CSV based files. So in this case, basically spreadsheets. So to demonstrate its usage, what we're going to do is we're actually going to remove gov, because we don't want to be searching for government owned websites, and instead I'll add cisco.com. Now, to actually use this query that we built, we simply use the search button here, and what DorkSearch will do is it will simply forward our request to Google. So in this case, we get numerous different results for community.cisco.com, www.cisco.com, and if we take a look at the title here, it contains index. And you can see here that it didn't actually search for directories that might be exposed because it wasn't enclosed within double quotes. But you see, if we were to enclose them in double quotes, we would not get any results. But nonetheless, we were able to use a tool to better format our searches. Now, although using pre-built queries is useful, instead, we can actually use a interactive builder. And what this does is essentially allows us to select numerous different operators and build queries ourselves. So as we saw in the manual phase of Google Dorking, we had to write our own queries, but here we're provided with numerous different operators that we can combine and subsequently search. So in this case, inurl searches for anything, as part of our URL. Then we get a four set of columns actually, that outline whether the results are returned for websites, images, groups, or even news. Now, to use them, we simply select the one we want to use and provide the actual word or phrase we want to search for. Now, we can use as many of these operators as we want to. So for instance, if we were to use site, just remember to separate the operator by a space here. We can provide something like cisco.com. So in this case, what we're doing here is searching for any results that match the cisco.com domain and also contain the word login within its URL. So using search here, actually we're prompted to prove that we're not a robot, probably because we've been issuing out a lot of these requests, but here you can see that we get the previous login pages that were returned to us when performing the searches manually. So have a bit of fun to build some queries yourself. Just ensure the domain that you're using and the things that you are inspecting for are legal, in the sense that you have the permissions to do so. As you can see here, this tool is purely for educational purposes, and any misuse of Google Dorking can be viewed as hacking in some countries. Now, one of the final resources that we are going to explore is Exploit Database's Google Hacking Database. And essentially, this is a database that houses an abundant amount of Google Dorking queries. So it's very similar to DorkSearch, but DorkSearch allowed us to interactively build various different queries, but Google Hacking Database essentially provides us with an abundant amount of them. Now you take a look here, there's 530 different pages, and I think what here is like 15 total rows. So 15 times 530, that's quite a lot. Now, one way to use Google Hacking Database is obviously, go through each one of these specific, Google Dorking queries, but also we can use the specific category. Now, as you can see here, many of these categories are indeed what we've seen in DorkSearch, and essentially DorkSearch is fundamentally built upon Google Hacking Database. But by using the filters option here, we can filter down by the specific category that we want to search for. So in this case, what we'll do is we'll select files containing juicy info. And if we take a look at some of these rows, for instance, what this will return is basically any site that exposes its directories, and within that directory contains a file called setting.php. So as you can see, by filtering down, we can search for even more tailored results. And by using these queries, we can then add upon them to build the specific query that is applicable to the domain we might be assessing. So let's actually take a look at this query here. And as you'll see, some of these queries will actually have comments in. And some of these comments, include who the exploit who the query is created by, when it was created. But if we scroll here a little, some of these queries might even actually be relatable to a specific exploit. So here's a good one, in-text global protect. You can read the rest here. Essentially what this is a dork for a specific global protect portal login panel. So you can see here it's quite a recent CVE. And if we were to actually implement this as part of our own searches, we might be able to detect or discover specific portals that might be vulnerable to that vulnerability. Now, if we were to take this and append site cisco.com, nothing. Cisco.com, nothing. So Cisco.com, does not use global protect. But in the case that, it did, we could filter down for the specific CVE that was outlined here for Cisco.com. So I suggest, you take a look and you have a look through all of these, not all of them, but you have a look through the resource itself and see what queries you can build and discover. And that is it for passive reconnaissance part 4. What we've discussed in this video basically makes up all of our passive reconnaissance series, and in the next video we will take a look at how we can conduct passive reconnaissance automatically. If you've enjoyed, please make sure to leave a like, and remember you can join our Discord server, for which links you can find in the description below. I have also attached some useful links for where you can find some additional resources when it comes to Google Dorking. And I can't stress this enough, make sure you are staying within the legal boundaries. What you choose to do with the knowledge you gain through this video is totally up to you. We take absolutely no responsibility for it. In the meantime, stay safe, and I will see you in the next one.